Welcome back in the Man 2040 Business Technology and Psychology ThinkCast. As you know, in this ThinkCast, we interview people from business, from psychology, from technology. We ask their viewpoints and we ask them what to do and how to do. We ask them about real instruments, like what instrument we need to put in practice to really strengthen our business. Last time we talked to Michele Castagna. He's a temporary export manager. We interviewed him in Italian, but today we will interview him in English. And we'll ask him some deeper questions about the export, about the techniques, about his price, about his competence. We'll ask him these questions, so stay tuned. Michele, welcome back again, Man 2040 Business Technology Psychology ThinkCast.
Hello, and good to see you once again. Welcome to all those participants in this conversation.
All right, Miguel, thank you. Thank you very much for connecting with us again. The question is this, like you are a temporary export manager. Tell me a little bit about yourself, like what are those core competences which you put into practice and help Italian small size enterprises to expand their business internationally?
Frankly speaking, it is not a method that can be only used for Italian companies. Actually, I could support any companies throughout the world to increase their export sales. So this technique is based on digital tools and methods. In very simple words, I run a small team of collaborators. I started doing this job more than 12 years ago. And every single week, we research and develop new business leads for our assisted companies. So once again, doesn't matter if a company makes this specific product or another one. And doesn't matter if the company is based in Milan, Venice, or Poland, or Czech Republic.
Excellent, excellent. So, Michele, the point is like before COVID and after COVID, things have changed. Like before COVID, things were face to face, even outside in the context of Italy, Italian entrepreneur, traditional entrepreneur, they did like to make face to face visit. But now after COVID, they were obligated to do the smart work. And things has dramatically changed. So tell us a little bit about what do you think about this international export? Can we do it through remote conference, or physical presence is also mandatory?
Physical presence is, of course, mandatory, but not everywhere and not in every single moment of the commercial transaction. For example, to identify potential customers in several countries, you don't need to take a flight every time, go there and visit companies, factories, or talk to these company owners. So the first, in my opinion, the first and the second stage of this work can be done remotely. Better if you do it remotely. You don't waste time, you don't waste the money of your company. And then once the business is concluded, you had better take a flight, go and visit the customer, meet them, visit the factory, and understand how you and your assisted company can better support your customers.
Excellent. But the point is, okay, if we're talking about a small size deal, like nowadays, okay, I buy something on Amazon, or I buy something online, a small amount. It makes sense, all right. But here we're talking about big deals. Here we're talking about €500,000. Sometimes we're talking about €100,000 big deals. Like if I put a small example, Italian textile machines. Sometimes these deals are more than €100,000. So in that case, my question is, through digital technologies, how can we really be so confident? How can we really convince the third person about our technology? Like still, we are human being, and face-to-face presence is always seems to be a right choice. So what's your opinion about it? Any example would you like to explain it?
Sure. In my opinion, it is really just a question of mindset. I'm telling you this because I started using these digital methods and tools long before the COVID took place. I could say that I started back in 2004 when Skype was first released in Europe, and I understood I could use these video calls, video meetings instead of several business trips. So I was replacing a number of meetings in presence through these video meetings. I must admit that initially, these potential customers, when they received the proposal from me, why don't we meet through Skype or another platform? They were somehow astonished. They did not believe this method could really work. But after the first attempts, they understood. They could not offer me coffee in front of the table, on the other part of the table. But actually, the content, the result of the meeting was the same, exchanging information, exchanging feelings, and then coming to a point where my company really understood what to do to meet that customer's requirements. You were asking me about possible examples. So, for instance, I have assisted, I still assist a company for the past 8 years. This company is making footwear, okay? So I contacted an importer based in Singapore and also working in Malaysia, something like nearly 4 years ago. 1.5 years ago, this importer confirmed they were interested in starting to work with my company. We talked several times remotely by Skype, other systems. Then they came to my factory, and trust me, they placed the first order for 750,000 euros. One single order, the first order. What does it mean? It means that this way of working, this digital way of working, does not have any limitations. You can manage small orders, small customers, and at the same time, you can manage big or huge orders and customers. Trust me.
Excellent, excellent. And the way I'm talking with you, I feel more enthusiastic at how this digital conversation with clients. And also, Gartner research shows that in 2025, the more than 90% of the decision between supply and buyer will be done through remote channel. That's really groundbreaking news. And I think Gartner is a prime authority who make the right prediction about the future. So we are enthusiastic about this digital approach, Miguel. But in the context, I would like to ask you one important question. If last time it was face to face, but now it's a digital. But how much it matters the person who is talking on digital channel? Let's for example, an export manager, like temporary export manager. That's your role. So what characteristics one must have to be more effective on digital channel in order to have that convincing conversation with the buyer?
A good export manager, in my opinion, should not convince anyone. I mean, if you think that your company does not have the products or the services that can meet the requirements of your customers, you don't have to try to convince them. So in many cases, in such a circumstance, I suggested my potential customers to go somewhere else, to other suppliers, simply because I did not have those products they wanted. Anyway, trying to understand what the meaning of your question is, you have to be very honest. You have to be sympathetic. You have to understand what they are looking for, and always remember that the person in front of you, even though we're talking about a very important purchasing manager of a multinational company, they are still a person. That one is still a person, so they are afraid. They want to sleep quiet at night. They want to be sure, aware they have made the right choices. So you have to help them make the right choices, and you have to help them feel they have made the right choices. Awareness, just awareness. Have I been clear enough?
No, no. This is yes. I would say you you explained something very interesting, like to be very sympathetic, to be very honest, and in the end they are human being and they need some tranquility of mind the time they go back to their families. Undoubtedly, that's very impressive from your side. But the question is a little bit different. What I would like to ask, I'm saying, for example, in export management, there are various export managers in the market. There are competitors. So my question is, product is the same, market is the same. How export manager can really differentiate his product to the buyer? Like, what are those strategies? One thing could be the experience. One thing could be his interpersonal style. One thing could be his own X factor. So I'm interested to know about that, Miguel.
Considering the level of product is anyhow nearly the same. Of course, if there are products much better than mine, I can never compete with some other suppliers. But considering the level of the products is the same or nearly the same, I win if I create a trust in my customer towards myself, first of all, and my company. So whatever I tell them must be understood and must be believed. They have to understand that Michael is suggesting them the best solution for them and their company. It's very simply this, so I cannot clarify the concept in a better way, I think.
Mm-hmm. No, this is interesting. But my question is this: like, what you are saying is it's again not just a core business skill. It's all about the human being, like how much clearer you are with yourself, much clearer you are with your client who gave you the opportunity to sell your product internationally, much authentic, I would say, you are in your communication. And that's what you are saying. Is that the point, Miguel?
In the marketing, there is a new way of interpreting the so-called way of saying business to business, business to consumers. So they created a new way of expressing this concept. It's a business to humans.
Right.
Still, we are talking to humans, not only managers with a certain power. So we must respect them. We don't have to cheat them just because my company can get a benefit from an additional sale. Mm-hmm. I prefer protecting that protecting that customer, and considering I prefer keeping their confidence in what I say, in what my company represents for possible future requirements.
Excellent. And okay, let's divert the conversation in terms of economical value of having a temporary export manager. Like, can you please give us some? Can you please give us some idea about how much export manager would cost the company, how much money it can save as comparison to companies trying to participate in international trade fairs, and they invest more than thousands of euros per year in trade fairs through logistics, by paying to fair machinery installations and people costs, etc. Can you please give us some idea numerically? Can you explain this?
I will be very straight answering this question. So a good full-time expert manager has a cost for a company swinging from 120,000 euros and 130,000 euros a year, not considering the company car and additional expenses or business trips and participations in international exhibitions. So the job for 1 year of a temporary expert manager has a cost approximately of 40,000 euros. One of the advantages is the measurability of the work a temporary expert manager can do. I mean, every month, the company owner receives the CRM, the Customer Relationship Management. So that file containing all the leads with information, direct email addresses and notes and so on. In that CRM is concentrated the whole work the team has done over the month. It's a way of measuring the work that gives the company owner the awareness someone is doing a very good work for them, even though working remotely.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And in terms of your services, Michele, like if we make some quantitative analysis, like last time you said, your company would be producing up to 4,400 leads per year. Can you please explain that for our users? Like how does it work in your case? Like how? A question is what you provide concretely to companies, and second thing is how your services are monitored. You already answered this question, but I would like to deep dive on that again.
You actually reported, because you knew it, the figures of typical work from a temporary expert manager. On average, we can provide means collect and develop 300 to 400 business leads a year. And of course, during this period, a number of leads become interested. So they start talking to us, requesting quotations, offers, technical files, samples, possibly proposing visits to the companies, to the factories, and so on. So it's absolutely the same work as a full-time export manager, simply done remotely for 80% of the time. I mean, not considering the COVID period, I used to make business trips for 20% of my time in the past, which means 10, 12, 14 business trips a year. Only the essential ones, all the rest was done remotely. That's the concept.
Okay, 80% of your task was done remotely even before the COVID. That's what you're saying. That's right.
Absolutely, yes, that was the case.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And Michele, as you said that your cost, as a temporary export manager, your company costs up to 40,000 euros per year to an entrepreneur, to a company. Now the question is how that payment is done. Like the point of this, you said trust is very important, and to hand over 40,000 euros to someone. I'm not doubting your expertise. Of course, I got positive feedback about you from some of the people. But the point is, for an entrepreneur who is a small size, let's say a company in the Como where turnover is very small, and your cost is $40,000 to them per year. The point is how that payment is done. Can you just be more granular about that?
So the payment is carried out at the end of every single month. So it's a fixed monthly fee. It cannot be different also because I have collaborators working for me, so they are a cost for me.
Of course.
Regarding the size of companies possibly requesting this type of service, I can simply say that not every company can actually export. So a company to be able to export must own a certain structure, must own a certain size. And when I say size, I mean possibility to invest. So the company owner must make a choice. If they cannot afford to pay a temporary export manager, even less, they will be in condition to pay a full-time export manager. And in other words, they are not in condition to export.
Okay.
Exporting is not for everyone.
Correct. It makes perfect sense. And you said very pragmatically that export is not for everyone. It's expensive, of course. In the beginning, it's a risk taking and it's expensive in the beginning. That's very correct. Okay, and now my point of this, Michele. Okay, company owner is ready to pay your services because we trust you. We can feel that you can help us. Now, if we want to ask, like, what are the references where you work? Can you please give us some ideas about the last project you helped, or you helped some Italian small size companies to become at the global level. Can you please throw some light on that?
Products and sectors. So consider that over the past 12 years, we have assisted 62 companies, and I would say that none of them was similar or identical to the others. So I would say footwear, mechanical components, technological products like video cameras, food, so machines for textiles, sock knitting machines, really a lot of products, and this just testifies that a skilled and experienced temporary export manager can work with profit successfully in any sector, industrial sector in the market.
Mhm, mhm. You said that you would provide 300 to 400 leads, for example, to companies, and companies will also like, and you give them monthly report, etc. This is perfectly right. Now, but what about these follow-ups? Like, who's going to do this follow-up? You are just going to hand over the lead to company manager, or they do the entire communication with them, or maybe your company say, hey, listen, Mr. Client, I'm going to do entire follow-up, but there will be some extra cost added to this, which would be 40,000 euros plus X. Can you make it clear?
No, in every single case, I have done the work completely. I mean, the so-called follow-up is straight in my hands. I mean, I receive every week from my collaborators the file containing all the leads, and I do the development. I mean, I work with the official email addresses of my assisted companies, and I send presentations. So I answer the requests coming from these customers. I very often involve people, collaborators within my assisted companies. In some cases, whenever a technical support is required, I involve my technicians in video meetings with my customers or potential customers. So once again, the role of a TEM is exactly the same as the one of an export manager. Simply, the physical presence at the factory is not required. So I go to my assisted companies just when customers from abroad come on visit, or I move when I have to go abroad for a business trip. Mm-hmm. All the rest is done at my office, which also is my home.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Not wasting time, not wasting money. That is the verbum.
Right. Excellent. And one thing comes to mind, Miguel, as a temporary export manager, I believe that you work with many companies. Okay, if a new company come to you, their question is, how would you dedicate time for them, because you already have many projects in the pipeline? But the question is not, that's not the real question. The question is, you said that you will give up to 400 leads per year to companies. But if the company's owner want to ask you the question, okay, 400 leads, how many hours of weekly work you would dedicate to our companies, and when would it be available to talk to them anytime when they told you your flexibility, working hours, not working hours? Can you please clarify this point?
Yeah, on average, we dedicate 10 hours a week to every single assisted company. Let's say 50-60% of this time is employed by one of my collaborators to collect the business leads, which is a hard work and it's a time-eating work. What I say that eventually, what is important for a company is not the quantity, the amount of time dedicated to doing something, but the performance, the final result. Mm-hmm. So whenever a company owner sees 30 to 40 business leads every single month coming to their factory, right, they understand they will never be able to do the same, even though they participate in 3, 4, 5 international exhibitions a year, with a totally different costs.
Correct. Correct.
You know what I mean? Anyway, the answer to your question is on average, we dedicate 10 hours a week to every single company. These hours are not done one after each other, one after the other. They are split, smartly split over the week.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. It makes perfect sense to me. And my other question is, Michele, we heard many things about you. Also, I said several times in the Chamber of Commerce, someone said if you are going for export, then the name is Michele Castagna, and this is the reason we are here. Now the question is, in market, you do market research, you find clients in various territory, various products, different sectors, etc. What tools and techniques you use to do this market research to find these potential clients?
Okay, there are two different ways of identifying potential customers throughout the world. The first one is made out of internet techniques, profiling techniques, using keywords and other situations, other tools that I'm not going to reveal to anyone.
Correct.
Second way is using data banks, international data banks. Nowadays, there are so many very good international data banks that can offer you a lot of information. Most of them are free of charge. You must know where they are, of course. Some of them have to be paid. So mixing these elements.
Sorry to interrupt you here, but if you would like to reveal the names, that would be great for our entrepreneurs. If it's not confidential, these data banks.
Sorry, I've not understood what you said.
I'm asking. You said there are two techniques. One is your own technique, which is your own know-how, which you would not like to say, and that makes perfect sense to us. The second thing that you said, there are the data banks, which are some are free or some are not free. So would you like to say some names of those databases, data banks, which one can pay and one can use?
No, I don't want to do that,
okay,
because
perfect.
It is also part of my know-how. Trust me.
It makes sense. Okay, very good. So, so you said then you have your own techniques and own databases. On basis of that, you contact the client. Now the question is, how do you contact the client? By telephone, by email, by meeting, or by what do you do? How that's possible?
I'm answering this question by saying that the telephone times have gone forever. So you really cannot expect to be able to contact a manager in a company you want to have as a customer of yours just by making a phone call. It's impossible. So all these managers are very busy every single day. They don't want to be disturbed by phone. So the only way for contacting them is to know what their personal email address is. Actually, the strongest, the toughest part of our work is to identify the right person and to know their specific email address. Just consider a multinational company having 15,000 employees in 20 different headquarters all over the world. How do you identify who the right person to talk to is? It's a tough job. So what you find in my CRMs, those lists containing all the business leads, is just that. Name of the company, name of the person or the persons who decide, and email addresses. Then all the rest is done by email. Only at a certain stage, when the relation with these people has become more mature, you propose a video meeting. And then you talk to them like we are doing now by video platforms, but not before.
Right. Excellent. And last question, Michele, is this: like last time we said, like your experience with the big companies to establish a project in Asian countries. Can you please give us a example of a small Italian company who was small, where there's always problem with budget, and they had product and they were convinced by your services. They approached you, and you made them successful. Can you show us some small example, concrete example? If you would like to say the name of the company, also name of entrepreneur, that would be much exciting to our listeners. Why not?
Why not? Of course, I won't mention the name, but the example is a small company making medical insoles. You know what medical insoles are? Those medical stuffs that you put into when you have a problem, a disease at your feet. So you place these medical insoles in your shoes, and you can walk in a correct way, not having pain. So this company did not have any export sales.
Okay.
We started from scratch. Within 2 years, we collected something like 900 leads, and we opened 12 customers.
Okay.
So we are now growing.
Right.
We are now developing more customers, and this company is getting a part of its turnover from foreign countries that simply did not exist for them. All this with a very limited budget. I have never done a trip abroad on behalf of this company. We have never taken part in international exhibitions. Simply spending that money we mentioned before for my work and the one of my collaborators, we achieved those performances.
Excellent. And if you don't want to tell the name of the company, this is perfectly all right. But tell us a little bit about the company dimension, like how much is the turnover of this company, how many people, what were their resources, etc., their financial condition that time when they felt confident to approach to Michele Castagna. What was that?
Actually, you were asking me for an example relating to a small company, and this one is a small-sized company with a turnover when I met them of 3.5 million euros.
Okay.
We are now around 4 million euros. We are slightly growing.
Right.
I would like to add something else. We are slightly growing without any risk of missing payments. We are getting paid from any customers, okay?
Correct.
And we are growing with the right margins, because turnover means nothing if there is not a good margin behind. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Turnover is important, but margins are even more important.
Right. Okay, very good. And last question about this international export. Like everything is done, new clients is developed, now contract is signed, etc. What are the complexity which could happen or which had happened in the past, where you would like to say something about it? Because it's not always hunky-dory. I mean, it's not always a smoother flow once a contract is signed and then we start working. There are always some complexities, and this complexity could be maybe some countries they don't have the internet connection. Maybe a company there is some internal politics. Maybe a company is taken over by the other company. So can you please just talk about that as well?
So the main troubles I have had with some of my companies is when the company owner started not to have the same confidence in me as before. So a company owner must give total confidence to their expert manager.
Right.
Also because the expert manager, after 15, 20 or 30 years of experience, is supposed to know what they are doing. When a company owner tries to interfere with what I do, trying to impose their own rules simply because they think they can do something better, then the problems begin.
Very good.
And it's something physiological, of course. As I said, in these 12 years, I have assisted 62 companies, and only in a few cases I have had problems. 90% of the situations were positive for me and for my company owners. So that's fair enough.
Excellent, and congratulations for your performance. And we definitely trust you, Miguel. And if you would like to give some advice to entrepreneurs, small-sided entrepreneurs, those who are actually struggling to to export their products, and sometimes they want to hire someone, then they are also thinking to hire export managers. They now, due to COVID, digital technology, things have changed. What would be your advice to them in order to give them some confidence to start this journey, Miguel?
There are still too many company owners wishing this COVID pandemic would end as soon as possible because they want their managers to travel around the world once again, to participate in the international exhibitions again, as though visiting the customers abroad or participating in such international exhibitions was the final solution to everything. I would ask them, I would suggest them to consider that really times have changed and they can do a lot now using digital methods and digital tools. So it's not necessary for them to participate in business, in international exhibitions, or having their managers traveling around the world. They must be confident in this new way of doing business digitally. Export tied to digital.
Okay, very good, very good. Export ties to digital, and it makes perfectly sense. And we also said that that's also the Gartner's predictions, which can be taken as a right how to call it, a right strategy for the future. So, my dear friends, this was the temporary export manager Michele Castagna with us, and thank you very much once again to watch this ThinkCast Man 2040 Business Technology and Psychology. Thank you once again for connecting with us again. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Bob, and good evening to everybody. Take care.